Isles have ever produced. Stick him on the top shelf with people like Jack Bruce and Macca and Mick Karn and John Paul Jones. That said, he's probably the ultimate pioneer in the bass badlands, as well as having been a bona fide pop star in that. He's still touring with Level 42, and he is our inaugural guest on our new feature, Need to Know Bassist. It's Mark King.
Hey, thank you.
Well, it's great to have you back in.
It's lovely to see you, Sean. How are you, mate? You good?
I'm really good, actually.
You're looking ever so well, I have to say.
Need to Know Bassist, Mark. This is my landmark new feature.
Yeah.
You're a good one to start with, I think, because you've done a fair bit.
Yeah, and you work your way up.
You work your way up. We've got to talk about the fact that... Please, God, don't tell me that's me. It isn't me!
Actually, you see, now, this is a funny thing. That's exactly what happened in the garden last week. A week ago.
Right.
I was in the garden, and it was a no-caller ID. So I picked it up and just listened. And then this sort of lady's voice said, "Is that Mark King?" You know, and I said, "Yeah, who's this?" And she said, "Oh, it's Devon and Cornwall Police." And I started giving it all this, well, how do I know that it's Devon and Cornwall Police, you know, because it says no caller ID. And she said, "Well, do you know Moira Gould?" And then off we went, and she broke the news about Boon.
Yes.
So it's uninvited phone calls are horrible things, you know.
They are, actually, because
things,
you never know what's going to happen next. And just for the people, I mean, I think most people listening probably do realise that Boon was the sort of founder member of Level 42 with you, and he passed away last week, didn't he? So I'm just very sorry for the loss, because that must be devastating, because you guys were still very close all the way to the end, weren't you?
Yeah, the best of friends, Sean. You know, I've known Boon since since I was 14, I think, and we did all the great crazy stuff that sort of musicians and dreamers and wannabes did. And we were lucky enough to actually get to realise that. You know, we did do that, and Boon, you know, he was an incredible guitarist, and he became a fantastic lyricist too, and those two things don't often go hand in hand, you know. So his musical talent was just fantastic, and I think that's why I gravitated towards him, you know, and wanted to just hang around and sort of see it come out of him, you know, which it did. But we did a road trip across the States for 4 months in '79, and you know, lived together in a wreck of a place up in Walthamstow and stuff, and so all of these memories. You know, and we were just the very best of friends right till the end, and it is just so dreadfully sad, and I'm so sorry for his family.
Yeah, we all are.
You know,
very sad.
There it is. And it is what it is, mate.
Will you just take us back to the beginnings of the band and your friendships as well, actually, because you're pretty much all from the Isle of Wight.
Three of us, yeah.
Three of you.
We all met up 1979, rehearsing at Guildhall School of Music, and it was just sort of something that clicked. We didn't think that was going to be the band. We were all just sort of jamming on a Monday night, waiting for our vehicle to arrive, you know, because we were all talking about, I'm going to do this, and what I really fancy doing is this. In the meantime, let's go and jam. And a guy came along, Andy Soiker, heard what we were doing, recorded a song that I wrote with Boon called Love Meeting Love, and I just got these great images of lying on this dust-covered floor in Walthamstow with the riff and trying to cobble together a melody, and Boon putting the lyrics together. And that's just how we did it, you know. We just moved on from the dust and the rubble.
And how did you get lumbered with having to sing? Because I think that's probably how it felt at the beginning, isn't it?
Well, that's how it sounds, doesn't it? Let's face it. It's it was there's a thing when you're composing or you're trying to come up with ideas and stuff, you know, that very often the riffs are involved and stuff, but sometimes, and then when you get a melody, if you come up with a melody, you kind of carry that on, and this works the same with like the songs that Mike sung were very often the melodies that Mike had come up with. Sometimes we swap them around, but that's just sort of how it is. So it's like, and then Boon is sitting there go, "Oh, summer nights, making love," and
it's really collaborative then, isn't it?
Oh yeah, so collaborative. All the best songs that I've ever been involved with have always been co-writes with, you know, Boon, Phil, Mike, Wally. And it's the best way, because you get an idea from somebody, they bounce back, it inspires them, and then the thing that they come up with, it takes it on to another thing, you know.
I mean, for you guys though, when you started off and you were in that sort of jazz funk realm, weren't you? You were, like you say, you were jamming, more instrumental, less vocal, and then you sort of move into this territory where at some point where the scales tip a little bit and you become more of a a pop band, really, don't you? You start when was it the moment where you start to think, actually, we can write bloody pop songs, we can make some money out of this?
It was an onward journey. It was just sort of development of the fact that, you know, the first thing for us, we got on the top of the pops with Love Games, you know, which is that. Come on. So that was just the sort of the basis thing, but that got us a shot on Top of the Pops in 1981. And there's that kind of lights of blue touch paper, because you think, oh, it'd be great to have that again. And of course, the record companies say, you know, you have a bit more of that, would be great. And so off you go. And then you start developing as songwriters, because you get a sniff of, you know, so many more people like that side of it than perhaps just the, you know, I know the hardcore love the instrumentals, and we still put them in the set now. You know, we played Cheltenham Jazz Festival this weekend, which was absolutely amazing. You know, that the big top was rammed. And the outpouring, you know, I know that the response was a lot to do with the fact that Boone sort of passed recently, but it was so moving. And singing the songs, too, that, you know, the words take on a different sort of poignancy.
Yeah, of course, because the ones that he wrote as well, they must be really singing off the page at the moment.
Yeah, they do. And it's that old thing, you know, I think it was Lennon said, you know, that people would come up and say, oh, you know, you were singing about me, and that's exactly it. And him saying, well, no, that wasn't the case at all. That's not what I meant.
Oh, that's a really powerful bit, that, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the one he said. I didn't even write that. And he said, man, you got to carry that weight. And he said, well, I didn't write that. That was who wrote it?
Yeah, it was Paul, wasn't it? Yeah, that wasn't me. That's not even my words. I didn't even write that. But just quickly then, from you got Love Games, then you go. Isn't it true that the record company were like, you need a big hit, and that's when you did Lessons in Love? Yeah, because you sort of rose to the challenge. You were like, okay, international hit. I think we can do this.
It's true, and ironically, just the album before that, the World Machine album, there's Something About Your song that we had. The record company's first reactions weren't that great at all. That they sort of weren't keen on that as a direction. After it had sort of got to number 7 in America, and you know, and sort of around the world, did all the business, there was a sudden sea change, and it's like, well, let's give the guys a bit more slack then, and not keep trying to steer them this way. But we wrote the stuff that we wanted to write, and you know, and I think that as songwriters and creatives, you want to keep developing, you want to keep moving on. You don't want to keep writing the same song again. What's the point? You know, that you've got those are in the bag and stuff. And
exactly. You've got to keep pushing yourself, haven't you? I mean, why should a 10-year-old kid take up bass guitar as opposed to drums or a normal guitar? You know, what's the really rewarding thing about it? Because I think people perhaps who aren't musicians sometimes think, oh, it's just easy, the bass, isn't it? It's just like 4 notes.
Well, it can be.
It can be.
It can be that. It can be anything you want. You know, you get Stephen Bruno or Thundercat as he goes out. You know, you watch him play, and he's taking a 6-string bass, you know, just miles away, and it's just incredible. And I stand there, you know, in awe of that way of playing. You know, because it's not a style that I play, and I'm known largely for slapping the bass. And there's a lot of bass players you can't play that style of playing either. But there are so many things to do. It's just a really good accompanying thing. And the lovely thing about playing bass in a band is that you have sort of space, and you can be aware of everything that's going on around. So it doesn't surprise me that many bass players sort of become good producers, because they have just an awareness and a listening. You have to listen all the time, you know. I mean, there are lots of jokes aimed at bass players, because exactly what you said, this sort of the assumption is that it's got to be easy, but it depends how far you want to take it, doesn't it?
It is, and simplicity can be such a difficult thing to achieve sometimes, can't it? It's like is it true that James Jameson, who basically played pretty much every Motown bass line that you can hear in your head, never changed his bass strings?
It's probably true.
I read that is the case, that because just to get that kind of, which is another completely different style to what, you know,
absolutely.
Most other people.
Robbie from Sly and Robbie, he said that the bass, he just wouldn't change the bass strings either. He said they didn't sound good until they were about 4 years old. And that's, so you get this really sound, you know. If I can just sort of show you, it will be much more on the neck thing, so it's just all bottom end.
Yeah. You're listening to Need to Know Bassist with Mark King.
Whereas, you know, if you get a bit more sort of top end in it, which you can sort of, you hear that, you sort of, and then you get, and all those sorts of things,
it.
which you
I love
can't
it so
do
much.
on dull strings. I have to
No,
say.
you do need some nuance for that. But we've got a lot to talk about in Need to Know Bassist Part 1. By Smog, a beautiful piece of music actually, and again we're here with Mark King, talking about everything really, but at the bass as well. You know, it's weird, isn't it? You kind of obviously there were people that sort of did slap bass, and that's not all you do. You do so many other different styles so beautifully, but that was what you repopularised in a sense in the 80s, didn't you? Stanley Clarke was doing it, and people like that.
Yeah, for sure. Larry
Graham,
the great Larry Graham, and all the Sly Stone stuff. You know, which I'm also so pleased that Six Music play on a regular basis. It's always so great to hear. Yeah, you know, and I've been fortunate enough to become friends with Larry, and I've done a few shows with him.
Yeah.
And we did this, you know, the two of us were invited to go across and play a show at the North Sea Jazz Festival, you know, 2 or 3 years ago. And who should fly in because he adored Larry Graham, but Prince, the man himself, and he sort of toddled on stage and jammed. Yeah, and then up came Carlos Santana, who's had two name checks. It was just wild. Yeah, it's those sort of moments when you just stand there thinking, "Oh my days, you know, this is."
I pinch myself, but I've got to play this quadruple smack. There he is. So, God, I mean, did you have a bit of conversation with Prince then? Or did you not get a chance, probably, because you were playing?
He was very succinct, and he said, "It's nice to meet you, Mark."
That's all you want?
That's all I wanted.
Don't ruin it.
Yeah. No, exactly, because I would have done, and then he thought, actually, I didn't enjoy meeting him at all. So you're better off just going, thank you. And I sort of bowed and scuttled off, like, backwards, like Blackadder. And it was, and that was it. That was my meeting.
Because you met a lot of, and played with a lot of incredible musicians, because... Is it fair to say that, especially in the 80s when you were first coming through, that you were kind of like the go-to bass guy for a long time? Certainly in this country, weren't you? It was like,
yeah, well, I was sort of
Mark.
recognisable. Yeah, and, as being a sort of you know, in-your-face bass player, and I did. I just sort of some great Princess Trust shows, and you know, met sort of various other artists, and I get invited onto their album and stuff, and it's been lovely, Sean. You know, it's just incredible that it seems sort of so long ago, but that's what a lifetime is, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, you go on and you build up and you work through things, and then you look back and you just think, wow, that was amazing. I wish I'd enjoyed it all more at the time, to be honest.
Were you a bit like everybody is at the time, a bit too worried about the performance or the way it's going to go to just drink it in?
You know, you have to take it. It is serious. You know that you always want to be at the top of your game, and you want to make sure that you don't let anybody down. So you spend a lot of time doing the homework, and actually cramming other people's songs is a real thing. It's a sort of double-edged sword, because sometimes if you're not that wired about the tune, it's really hard work, because you're putting notes in your head that you don't particularly want in there, but you're doing it because that's the gig, you know. But then there are other things. You know, a notable one that I sort of drag out is Under Pressure, the Queen and Bowie song, you know, which we've played in our dad band. And it's but it's only when you get in and you play a song you realise how brilliantly crafted it is, and what an amazing you know, collaboration that was. So that was a joy, because it showed me something I didn't know.
Was that one that you played when you were on stage with David Bowie, by any chance? What did you play with him?
No, we did Dancing in the Streets.
Because Mick Jagger was on stage with you as well, wasn't he?
Oh, nice to meet you. But I realised pretty soon that it's, you know, you can get up and thump the bass, and especially when you're playing with a fantastic drummer, and I've been so lucky. But that's the thing, you know, you play with great players, and it keeps you on your toes, keeps you at the top of the game. And boy, you know, the front row get up and start dancing.
But this is, I mean, this is, I think that's what perhaps people don't understand. When you remove the bass from a band, you're removing so much of the heart and soul, aren't you? That's the thing. Even if it's not always as obvious sometimes as the lead guitar part.
I really feel it's the roots. You know, it is the foundation. It is the foundation of the band.
And jazz is on a real comeback, isn't it, at the moment? You know, sort of jazz music.
Yeah, you know that I think the Cheltenham Jazz Festival that we just played this weekend, and a couple of days before that we were in the Gronau Jazz Festival in Germany, and we got 19 festivals in the diary just for this summer, and 60% of those are jazz festivals.
Yeah, it's on the comeback.
Yeah,
in fact, speaking of that, if you're anywhere near a YouTube in the near future, just type in Level 42 Montreux 1983, I think. You start with a song called Almost There.
Yeah.
And it's like you can almost see the steam coming off your thumb and off Boone's fretboard and everything. Everybody's just cooking, like it's just right up there, isn't it?
So great, yeah. And you know, I'm glad you mentioned Boone again there, because he was just fantastic. Such a unique guitarist, you know, really, really great. And I hope that, you know, with this, you know, the awfully sad passing, that people go back and rediscover some of his playing, because you know when you, I mean, you're a guitarist yourself, Sean, so you know when you hear Boon, he just sounded really unique, and he within the framework of me slapping around, you know, Phil laying it down, and Mike and Wally, all these intricate sort of synth lines going on. Boon always found a space in there, to make it work. You know,
that's what I think was special about it. Is how you can listen and put parts into an arrangement.
Yeah.
And we must remind people as well. We'll remind them nearer the time should they want to go. But at the O2 Arena on Saturday, September the 7th, you guys are playing at the Electric Soul Festival.
Yeah, I can't wait.
Which is going to be great, isn't it?
It's going to be fantastic. Yeah, it's a really good lineup, and it's just going to be a fantastic festival day. So do come on.
Hosted by the legendary DJ Trevor Nelson and Brand New Heavies and people like that. Cool and the Gang. And Level 42. Doesn't get much better than that. The inaugural Need to Know bassist. I think it's gone very well. Thanks so much for coming in and talking to us today, Mark King.
Real pleasure, Sean. Love you, mate.